Hey, so do you girls, you know what, when it's been winter for 8 months in a row straight and you live in Canada, or, the northern portion of the US,
Yeah.
do you guys, ever shave your legs?
No,
Okay,
not really.
no.
I need to.
I need to shave my legs. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of GirlieTalk,
Yay!
where we discuss our bathroom routines. What
Almost.
brand of razor?
I go Venus, man.
Same.
Oh, I'm your Venus.
I'm your fire, your desire.
I use men's razors.
Yo, if it works. As
Yeah.
long as it
I've
works.
heard they're good.
Yeah, they're just better for some reason. Okay, we're gonna talk about Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
Can't really segue into that from shaving.
Yeah,
but-
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I couldn't think of a good way. I'm not Carlos would come up with some stupid pun that would make no sense, but sorry,
Probably about how much time
Carlos.
it takes to shave.
Oh,
It's
yeah,
just
there
in
you
the
go.
nick of
Yeah.
time and time travel.
Oh, okay.
no.
No, don't let him rub off on you too much.
It's bad.
Oh, boy.
The nick of time, get it? Because shaving.
Yeah. Oh, bad.
Okay.
Okay. Chrono Trigger.
So we like this game, correct? So
Yes.
Chrono Trigger released, 1995 for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yes.
Artwork by the Dragon Balls guy.
Yeah.
And and the game is by the Final Fantasy dudes.
Square.
Square.
So combined, it's good, right? That's it was highly anticipated. And it's one of those games that kind of lived up to the hype and goes down as, one of the most praised JRPGs pretty much ever. One great aspect is the music,
Of course.
of course.
Yes.
So we're going to concentrate kind of sort of on the music aspect of it, I would say, today.
Yeah.
Sab, you're playing through the game right now. You want to give us some general thoughts?
Yeah, sure. So I started playing it a couple weeks ago, and I've heard a lot of the music before, so to hear it in context is really, really cool, especially when you hear Corridors of Time in the main place that you, because it'll be sprinkled throughout, but it totally made me rethink about, I'm like, holy crap, I'm like, when I covered this a year ago, I'm like, I was way off, because
Oh.
but now if I were to redo it, I would do it much differently, but oh my god, Yasunori Mitsuda and then Nobuo Uematsu, who finished the music after Mitsuda fell ill, it was phenomenal. I'm sorry. It's hard to talk.
Power
It's so good.
combo.
Yeah. I think what I really like about the music in general is that it's very it's a lot of similar themes and motives. I actually gave a presentation on motives and themes in video game music, and I talked a lot about Chrono Trigger because I just like how Mitsuda does that. It's so good.
It is. Plus that 80s bass, am I right?
Oh my god, yes.
All the
Yes.
time. Okay, so Uematsu, let me just Wikipedia right now because and let you guys know which tracks it was that he contributed, because don't get me wrong, most of it is Mitsuda.
Yeah.
I think Uematsu did Black Omen. I think.
Let's see exactly. If I'm not mistaken, I think he did the bicycle race thingy. Some things that you wouldn't necessarily associate with his style, which is kind of interesting. Okay, so disc 1, show. What is this? Okay, so Uematsu did Silent Light.
Oh, that's interesting.
He did Boss Battle 1. Well, actually, so here it's credited as Noriko Matsueda, with Uematsu being the arrangement, like doing the arrangement is what it says for Boss Battle 1. Uematsu did Mystery of the Past, People Without Hope, Bike Chase, Underground Sewer, Primitive Mountain, and the Burn Babonga one. That sounds like this one K-pop song to me so much. Tyrant Castle, Sealed Door, and that's it. Everything else, like
that's interesting.
each disc here has between 24 and 27. There's 3 discs songs, so there's like quite a lot of music to this game. So everything else was Mitsuda there. But yeah, apparently he fell ill or something.
Something. I forgot exactly what it was, but yeah, he couldn't finish it, so Uematsu stepped in and finished.
Contribute
At the 11th hour.
Yeah, what needed to be done.
So, the music. Okay, well, Tara, talk about how much of the game you've played and like.
Well, I feel like I'm probably the same, like at the same pace as like Sab. Like I basically have to do some side quests, I think, and then face like the final boss, I guess, kind of thing. So I do agree with Sab. Hearing the music before playing the game, like it just doesn't do it enough justice to when you're actually hearing it with the in-game context, because like what she said with the Corridors of Time, I also did like a collaboration for Overclocked Remix, and I played violin for Corridors of Time, but at that point I had not played the game, and then when I heard it in the actual setting, I was kind of blown away by it. And plus the burn, I forgot what it was called already.
Babonga.
Yeah, that one. I was like jamming out to it.
Yeah.
So
it's such a jam.
It's got each place in the game has its own atmosphere, and they just do a really good job of portraying that. And just, man, I don't know. It's so different because I'm so used to listening to like Final Fantasy music, especially like 6 and 7. And Chrono Trigger it's similar, but it definitely has its own identity as well.
Yeah.
Which is also really, really nice, and that also might be why I'm like so attracted to the music from it. I'm doing an arrangement right now from Singing Mountain, which I guess wasn't actually even used in the game. And some people have heard it in the original, but when it was like glitched out, and then like randomly they heard the music, but they weren't supposed to.
It's kind of creepy.
It is a little creepy, but the music itself is so beautiful, and I wish that they had used it. But doing an arrangement of that, and what's kind of nice about that is you kind of know where it would have been played, but because it didn't actually play in the game, I feel like I don't have the limitation of making it feel like it originally did, because no one really knows.
True.
So there is a bit of leniency there, and I'm really excited to see how people react to my cover, because I'm changing it up a lot, and I have a lot of ideas in my head, and I'm kind of curious to hear them, like, physically, I guess, in a way, materialistic.
So, I actually played the game and heard the music in-game first, before hearing it outside. And a few tracks, like, super stuck out to me as being, like, very memorable. Millennial Fair, Frog's theme, Corridors of Time, quite obviously. And for me, number one, like, the main theme, both the main theme and Memories of Green. Like, those just were, like, the second I heard that main theme, when I played for the first time when I was in university. So this is not even like a nostalgia thing for me. Strangely enough, I didn't play it I didn't play it growing up or anything. But I heard that main theme, and like even just harmonically, it was like going in different places than I was expecting, and it threw me off, but like in the best way.
Yeah.
I think I showed, like, I sang as an example for Carlos once, like, where I was expecting the main theme to go, because the first da 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 da. Da 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 da, right? And I'm just expecting da 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 da. I don't fucking know. I sang it for him perfectly, but I was just ba 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 da da, right? Like something generic. Like
Right.
anyway, it's almost like it like transposes or like tonicizes.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? For like a bar.
It's like it's
Two
A
bars.
minor. It's A minor, and then it goes to F sharp minor. So it's interesting because in A minor, the sixth chord is usually major.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's the like
But
raised
it's just borrowing
sixth.
from the
It's
like,
borrowed
parallel.
chords.
It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
So in any case, that threw me off, but in the best way, and I loved the theme. But I could I'll never hum it right, which is like stupid for me. Like, because normally I can hum things back, but I just could not hum it back right for a very long time. Same with Memories of Green, but there's an area in the game, like right in the beginning, you enter this tavern and like there's someone at the piano who's like, oh, I'll play you a tune, and you're like, okay. And so they played Memories of Green, and I just remember sitting there like with the game on my screen, and I just put the controller down and I was just like staring at it, listening for at least 20 minutes, like on repeat. Those like extended YouTube, like da da da. It was like that within game. It was just on loop. And then I would get so sad whenever you're in the overworld and it starts that dun, 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 like that arpeggio thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then you move to a different section in the overworld and it like stops the music. I'm like, no. So those tracks stuck out to me. I agree with Tara. I really like. Yeah, it sounds distinctively Japanese, if that makes sense, because overuse of sus4, like that kind of thing. But it has its own flavor, and that matches perfectly with Chrono Trigger itself as an RPG.
Yeah.
Because it's, the same but different, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like a Final Fantasy VI, but it's so different. The combat mechanics are different. The
I love the
story
combat.
unfolds differently,
yes.
right? Like, the combat is not, like, people think, like, oh, JRPG combat, like, boring, right?
It's so cool, honestly.
Yeah.
Because Pokemon is turn-based, and so is Chrono Trigger, but Chrono Trigger it's in a much different way. So it's not like, oh, you attack them the next person. Like, you can get, like, 2 attacks off on a, like, enemy before they can even get one on you.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. And there's a lot of, you have your party members, just like in a lot of cases. But I really love the, like, combo moves.
Yes.
Yeah.
You can, like, discover and do, and, like, it's fun.
Ice
They're fun.
sword.
The game is fun. The music is
Definitely.
good. What else can we say about it? Okay, so what about the limitations of the SNES itself? So the sound fonts that are present there. Like, do you think that these limitations force composers to be more creative sometimes?
Oh yeah.
In
Totally.
composing? Yeah. So do you think that a lot of the time it works more to their advantage almost than disadvantage, or?
I believe so.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, Uematsu did take a little bit part in this, so I feel okay talking about it. But, like, I did a whole paper on Uematsu, and of course this was on his One-Winged Angel, but I had to do research on his previous works in order to understand how he even got to One-Winged Angel, as, like, this masterpiece. And so he himself even stated that having the limitations helped him a lot. And going from, what did he say? I think even going from the SNES to the, was it NES to SNES maybe? Going from like 8-bit to 16-bit.
Yeah, that would be that.
Yeah, so that itself was like so much of a expansion for him. It still had its limitations, but I do think that it helped him grow a lot as a composer and being able to work within those bounds instead of just getting free reign to do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I think having those kind of limitations and set rules and guidelines, it is what makes you really put forth your best work, and it does help you improve yourself as a musician and as a composer.
It's totally
and I think
true.
It's because of those limitations that Uematsu had earlier on in his career that allowed him to finally make sense of having, free reign, especially in PlayStation. All the sound FUTs that he had access to and everything. He was able to do whatever he wanted. And because he already had the foundation and the basis down from his previous compositions, he was able to kind of build on that even more and tweak things here and there and maybe add different timbres that he didn't have access to before, and just really solidifying his sound and like his own techniques. So
I have a couple things to like kind of add to that. So first of all, yeah, the limitations of the sounds themselves almost make you have to rely on the composition rather than the timbre, right? So it almost like, I would say, forces you to be really good at, I don't know, voice leading or like chords, or melody writing, right? Like all these tunes are so catchy. Or like to be creative, like how do I make this catchy tune? Or, I have to make this loop. The loop can only be 10, 20 seconds, right? Or maybe up to a minute, but
right.
Yeah, like you have these limitations, and this is something that video game composers, and I mean more the old school ones, right, had in place more so than in any other form of media. So you have a movie, you have any sort of music composition, like at all. What's your limitations there? Nothing. Like, how big of an orchestra can I assemble, right? That's pretty much like, all movie composers have, they can fit anything in the movie, right? You just have to record it and like done. There's so many limitations with video game composing.
Yeah.
And that kind of progression is so interesting because now, of course, there is no longer that limitation, but those limitations like informed our entire idea of what video game music even is. And it's almost that memorable, simplistic, chiptune-y sometimes feeling. And that's why rearrangements of video game music work so well, because a lot of this stuff is not fleshed out, right? And so it's kind of like up to the modern, we're modernizing this stuff.
Yeah.
That was like totally not modern. Could you imagine like I couldn't imagine as a composer starting out having like every possible like, I don't know, instrument available, like everything, and just being, if someone said right off the bat, like, here, you're going to learn composing, your first task is to like write this full orchestrated composition, right?
Ridiculous.
You'd like, oh no, like, what do I do?
Right.
It's good almost, like, I would say, to learn from that. For if any of you guys are interested in arranging, composing, whatever, force limitations on yourself, even if it's simple, like, okay, I'm going to stick to this really specific style, or I'm going to stick to this instrumentation, or I'm going to stick to this chord progression, or this time signature, or this tempo. Like, force limitations on yourself to start with, because it forces you to be creative within those limitations, and not just, like, create a sonic mess of everything. This went deeper than Chrono Trigger music.
That's
Sab,
good that
Sab,
Chrono Trigger's
add
like,
something.
Yeah. To relate it back to Chrono Trigger, I think what's interesting about the music is that, or at least with a lot of the tracks that I like, is that they all kind of have the same structure, but they're still really different. So like, Secret of the Forest, Quarters of Time. There's another one that I'm blanking out, and like even Memories of Green. Like they all kind of start with like a motive of like 16. So like in Secret of the Forest, you have like the do 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 da do 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 da, and Chrono Trigger do do do. Or you get what I'm saying. They have that same like
totally
16th note motive that like goes throughout, and then they add a bass line, and it's always that really cool 80s bass, which, like, it makes me never want to write my own bass lines. I just take those. And then they start adding really, like, it's such simple melodies, too. Like, because I've written a lot of the music, and it's, like, so simple.
The percussion is, like, really cool. It's, like,
Yeah.
It's, like, wood blocks, right? Stuff like that. What else?
That, like, Drum and Shala's theme. I don't know what the name of it is, but it's, like, really pitched.
Yeah, the Udu.
Yeah.
That one's so
has it.
Super cool stuff.
Even Shala's theme has that, too. Like, the dun, 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 and then it just builds from there.
Yes. Yeah. It's like... It's almost outer worldly, which works perfectly because of the fact that, like, okay, time, right, is kind of the theme of the game, and time is outer worldly to us, right?
Yeah.
And they're going to all these different like, not just different lands, right? They're like in the same land, but they're going to different times, and it changes. So you know, what a task for a composer to have to compose for a game that takes place like across several millennia.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And like, okay, so how do I encapsulate 600 AD?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
How do I encapsulate 1999? How do I encapsulate the end of the world? Or, you know, 1000? What's the, you know, what do I do here? So, Millennial Fair, okay, so we can talk about that track because that's in what? G Mixolydian? Is that the...
It's in almost positive it's in Mixolydian.
I think so.
Is it G?
You're right.
So that's cool. So for those of you guys who don't know, that's a major scale, except the 7th scale degree, you lower it by a half step. So it creates a kind of, because normally we rely on the 7th scale degree going to the 8th scale degree with that semitone. That's like, that helps us resolve things. So the lowering that creates it like, I don't know, it's almost more ambiguous in a way, I would say. It's less, it works well for looping, because there's less, like, very clear, like, cadences.
Yeah, because you don't have the leading tone anymore.
Right. It doesn't, like, resolve to the tonic in the normal way. So it's kind of, like, a lot of these modes is what they're called. They make things sound almost... Okay, so they're called church modes for a reason, because way back, in, you know, medieval Renaissance stuff like that, like, this is way back, they'd use these modes, like, essentially for chants, right? So you'd have some
Gregorian
sort of chant, Gregorian, whatever, chant text, and you'd, a lot of the time, stay on one note, but then you'd go up and down, and it would be almost nebulous, right? It's not necessarily, like, about tonic and dominant resolution, like how a lot of music, like, we listen to today. So it does create, like, I'm not explaining this very well, but it's definitely, like, older. Like, it sounds older in a way, also unfamiliar, but...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because, like, what they do is, like, they have what they call a final, right? And that's, like, the note that you end on. That's the final. That does not even mean anything in terms of, like, it being the tonic or the root or anything. Like, you could just end on any note, and that's the final. And, like, based on that and, like, the range and
exactly
a few other
they have,
things,
like, a repeating
you determine
tone.
what mode it's in.
Yeah, they have, like, a repeating tone, which is the way you'd be like, da 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 da, like, and you're like, okay, where is this going?
The repeating.
Duh.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is not necessarily what the music sounds like in Chrono Trigger. I'm just kind of, but it's more that idea of you repeat something enough, and it becomes, you know, standard. It's like, this makes sense now in my ear. You know, it gets repeated,
right?
Which is what a lot of the music there is, and which is like video game music, right? But it's kind of Mitsuda using that to his advantage. The fact that it's got to be, okay, we already know this is going to be looped. It's got to be repeated, ad nauseum. At least let's make it interesting, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool stuff.
You should all go play Chrono Trigger.
Yay, I'm going to replay it and experience the music again now that I know it a bit better.
I'm too scared to face the boss.
Yeah.
So, but I should still do it.
Or start again. That's usually what I do. Like, I've never finished Kingdom Hearts, so sorry, David Russell. But
we love you, David.
I've restarted that game so many times because, like, I'll get somewhere and then I'm like, I don't even remember where the heck I was, and I'll restart it from the beginning. And then have to do the stupid Destiny Island part with the stupid fruit and the bad acting and the race that I can never win because the jump mechanics are complete ass. Sorry, David Russell.
Oh, boy.
Play the game. Play any games. Think about music and how it's made.
Yes.
Be an active listener. Active listening is fun.
Honestly, the older video games, in my experience, just has better music in general. Like, I don't know. When you think about all these games that have voice acting now and all this stuff, like this is another thing I did in my paper. There's really not much attention to the music anymore once you add voice acting into the mix. And
do you think that's it?
I think
it's dependent on the voice acting?
I kind of. Like, if you think about it, you don't want it. There's no way our human brains can comprehend and understand, like, thematic music and voice acting happening at the same time. I see
what you mean. So that's kind of like a cutscene
dependent. Like cutscenes, or like even thinking about movie scores, like none of the thematic stuff happens when there's a lot of dialogue. It always happens when there's no one talking, So when you introduce voice acting into the mix, I feel like the music kind of has to take a back seat a little bit. And freaking Breath of the Wild. I mean, I don't even think I really need to say much about Breath of the Wild.
So I wonder, should we table this and then hit stop and then start another discussion on that?
Maybe.
We could,
we have time?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll do that.
All right, so should we stop?
We'll stop. And in the next episode, something about about movie memes.
Okay.
Goodbye.